Great. All right. Well, let's do it. Let's do one more of the 1, 2, 3 thing. Ready?
Okay.
Between 1 and 3. Yep. Go.
1.
2. Oh, let's try again. Go.
3.
1. Go.
2.
Go.
2.
Go. Hey. Okay. Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the first episode ever of the Knock and Run podcast. I'm James, and joining me are 3 very, 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 very special guests. To my left is the talented, the tall, the sexy, the bespectacled Carl Gregory.
Thank you for reading what I wrote, by the way.
You're welcome. Yeah. You slipped me $50 to say bespectacled.
I did ask you to do 5 veries, so I appreciate
You're very welcome. Yes. You're very, 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 very welcome.
Thank you
to
very
my
much.
right is the talented, the lovely, the 2.0 being in est, Bec Kynaston. How are you, Bec?
I'm good.
Thank you for being
I like being est.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the most being.
I'm
in
not
the
good
show.
at this talking business, which is like really weird to have a podcast if that's your lack of skill. And to my further right or further left, depending on how you look at it, is the also talented, the also amazing Amy Vee.
Hello there.
Hey, Amy.
Correctly ahead, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Amy and Bec are sharing a microphone today, so they're going to be very close, and it's going to be like a lovely... You guys should be like a duet, because you're both musicians.
We've actually done that.
Oh, have
before.
you?
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's embarrassing.
I'll leave.
Yeah,
All right.
Okay.
This has been fun. Thank you,
Carl,
James.
you're not on
read
that
that in my
side.
bio?
See ya.
Yeah. So, guys, this is a podcast all about theatre. We're here because we like theatre. We all like theatre, correct?
Love it.
Yes? Bec?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. 3 very different levels of
Can we edit out
enthusiasm.
the pause before that? Yes, it seems very hesitant.
I'm pretty ambivalent, but I just like being on podcasts.
I was in a theatre once, so I technically...
Yeah, no, they've all been in theatre, and they've all been knock and run artists in the past, or in Bec's case, will be in the future. Ooh, future. If there is a future.
Very
just
scary.
based on everything that's happened.
To bring you back to reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Things are terrible.
Just because it's been about 5 minutes since I've reminded you that the world is terrible and COVID exists, but it does. But anyway, we are here to talk about theatre, things we liked, and it moves us very swiftly onto our first segment of the day, which is called What We Watched. So in this segment, each month, our guest and myself will talk about a piece of theatre that they watched in the previous month that they enjoyed, talk about its strengths, its weaknesses, people that were in it that were really good, what was the highlight, and they'll give it a sort of a grading as well. Now, because, as I mentioned, 2020 was a kick in the nads for everyone.
What are you talking about?
What happened in 2020?
Yeah,
Nothing.
exactly.
I don't remember. I was in a coma the whole time.
I lived under a rock.
I was in
actually.
denial for 12 months. There wasn't that much theatre on, so I did give our guests for the January episode to sort of pick any theatre show that they had seen in the last 12 months or, in fact, in the last lifetime. But going forward...
What about previous lifetimes?
Yeah, I think I was a duck once and I sat in on a...
I was William Shakespeare.
Oh, you were?
So,
Yeah, cool.
I've got some stuff to say.
That's great, yeah. Did you write all the plays?
Nah.
No, I didn't think so. Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
That movie Anonymous was right.
Yeah, with Reese
Ifans.
Weird deep cut, Carl.
It's a deep cut.
We'll have to have our own... We should have our own podcast called A Deep Cut.
Cut that. Just cut the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to cut it. That's
Right.
a deep cut.
Cool.
Okay, so let's start. We're going to talk about theatre that we've seen, that we enjoyed, and I didn't figure out how we sort out the order. We could go by length of beard. we could go with blondness of hair.
Amy.
Or you know what we could do? We could do the Cards Against Humanity route.
How do we do that?
You don't know that one?
I do, actually.
Last person to do a poo.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Definitely not me.
I did one this morning.
Yeah, sorry.
No poo. I haven't shit in 40 years.
What is a shit?
What is a shit? Or we could do, you know what might be more interesting and less embarrassing to admit is last person who had a hangover.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Beck, when was your last hangover?
Not for a while. I haven't really been out much.
That's not an
There hasn't
excuse.
been much
Just
to
get
do.
drunk at home.
I'm still drunk. Does that count?
I'm currently in a hangover.
I've done nothing but drink today.
Amy,
so.
what about you?
Yeah, not recently.
Okay,
I'm
great.
afraid.
This is not a great way to do it. Well, how about we just do it from... why don't we just get Carl to go first?
That sounds...
Length of beard. We'll go...
The beard rule
We'll
is a
start
great
with the
one.
longest beard and we'll go anti-clockwise.
It'll be interesting because you have a beard.
I
and
do.
then who do we go to next?
I'm just looking at their chins. I don't know.
We got 2 smooth chins
I feel
over
like
here.
if Amy moved her hair around, she'd look like kind of like an Amish beard kind of
you
thing.
get like a Rasputin
Little
sort of thing going on.
Well, Carl, why don't we start with you? What play or musical are you talking about today?
Today I'm talking about the Present Laughter by Noel Coward. This is the Andrew Scott version that was recently broadcast on National Theatre Live. So that was either 2020 or the 2019 season. It is a comedy that was written in 1942 by Noel Coward, he's very witty, urbane. He's got these very kind of highbrow comedies that companies still really love to put on today because they're a lot of fun. They're kind of period pieces, but they're very, very funny as well. And Andrew Scott leads this ensemble cast about a character named Gary Essendon, who was an actor. And of course, we love stories about actors. They're our favorite thing. Who's just entered his 40s and basically is refusing to grow up. So his cast around him are trying to encourage him to sort of accept middle age gracefully, which he absolutely refuses to. He's absolutely just a young boy who refuses to do anything but what exactly he wants to do. And it's all about his trials and tribulations as an actor and managing his friend circle, which is currently imploding.
It sounds really cool. I've never seen Present Laughter. Was it done in Newcastle recently, or is it going to be done?
By the Newcastle Theatre Company in November, December.
Right, of last year.
That's right.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so what's made you pick that play? Like, you've seen a lot of theatre. I did give you the option to pick anything you've ever seen. So what drew you to that, to sort of review today?
Well, I've seen, like you said, I've seen a lot of theatre. I've seen over 300 shows in the last 5 years. So there has been plenty to choose from. But what I really enjoy about theatre is when I'm very surprised. And I've done a Noel Coward in the past. I did a show called Private Lives in 2012. And I found the writing to be very nice, but I kind of found it a little bit of an artifact, if you know what I mean. Like, it's very much of a time. So I didn't really see how it sort of translated to an audience today. But then I saw this version of Present Laughter, which I'd never seen before. I had no idea what the plot was about. And the performances and the comedy was so vibrant and enthusiastic and lively that it was indistinguishable from what I would see from something today. Like, it was current again in a way that I hadn't seen Noel Coward before. And Andrew Scott's performance, and Indira Varma plays his wife. They both received Olivier Awards recently for their performances.
Andrew Scott, I'm just trying to put a face to the name. He's the guy he's like Sexy Priest in Fleabag.
Sexy Priest in Fleabag. He plays Moriarty in Sherlock. He appears in bit parts in all sorts of feature films. He hasn't kind of cracked that market yet. He was in 1917.
I was just thinking that.
But everyone was
all
in
the
that.
Sexy British actors just showing up.
All the dudes with weird chins.
Oh yeah, that's every British man.
You've got to keep going.
Keep going. Run across the fields.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a gun with no bullets and a turkey.
Now run into that guy, but then get back up because this is a one shot. We're doing.
Oh, you messed it up. We have to start the whole film again.
Start the war again. World War II.
So you've highlighted a bunch of, I guess, highlights.
Yeah.
Of the show. Was there anything that kind of like deducted from that for you? Very much being a piece from the 1940s, it does kind of lean into some sort of farcical elements that are a bit well worn. I'd say at worst, it's a familiar type of comedy in some areas, and of course, I always find length to be a very decisive factor in whether or not I enjoy a show. For some reason, when it gets to about 2 hours, I'm just like, well, if I like this, I'm going to watch it forever or I'm out. It's a millennial attention span.
Well, and that's the thing. See, I watched Angels in America, the National Theatre Live version, and that's 8 hours, and I sat there rapt. I was thrilled. If it's good, I'll watch it forever. Yeah. And so this show was about, I'd say, 2 hours, 45 minutes, which is for just your average punter might be a bit much to ask. I
don't think I could sit through that unless it was really, really good.
But that's the thing. I didn't think I could either, but I was absolutely rapt. The staging, the ensemble cast, and the way it looked was just absolutely thrilling. And the momentum kept up for that long. You didn't even realize it was almost 3 hours.
So what's something that you learned? Because this is obviously a professional production. It's different to like an amateur or non-professional production here or locally. So what's, from watching that, what's a lesson that you have taken away that you could use for your own stagecraft, I guess?
I think that particularly as an actor myself, I tend to think inwards about my performance, what I'm doing on stage, how that's contributing to the cast. But I think ensemble performances, and that's something that I always try and improve upon, because it's not just taking your own performance into consideration, it's taking all the cast members around you and seeing that you all have the same vision. And when you do, a script can absolutely sing. But it's when maybe you're not necessarily doing the same thing as your fellow actor that things can become out of sync, and audiences can sense that, I think.
Yeah.
And so I think, obviously, on a professional level, they usually don't have this problem. But I think this is a particularly good example of everyone finding the same tone and sort of making that whole production sing.
It's great. Okay. I did ask you for a low light, but you kind of turned it into a highlight, which is a real talent of yours.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just taking things that are just generally bad and
That's
turning them to good things, like your outfit.
That's a great thing you said, James. You're very smart and clever. I appreciate you in all sorts of elements.
Thanks, buddy. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do a letter grade today. I think each episode we're going to do a different grading system so that anyone who's in a show that we review can't compare it to a previous show.
Yeah.
So today, let's go American. Let's go like your American style grading system.
All right.
A plus.
Yeah.
B minus.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Let's go raid the Capitol. Sorry. Sorry. They definitely don't talk
That
like
was
that.
almost a Jack Nicholson, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well,
let's go raid the Capitol.
I forgot to take my cat piss pills today.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen that movie. Anyway,
I don't even know what movie you're referencing.
I don't know.
That was as good as it gets, right?
Yeah. No, it was
Helen Hunt.
Batman.
I forgot to take my cat piss pills.
You know the bucket list? It was bucket list. Oh no, I forgot to pack my bucket. Anyway,
how will I make this list?
how would you grade this performance? Like, what would this play?
Well, no student left behind. I'm going to give it at least a C, but no. It's getting an A. I know there's an A plus. I'm going to hold off of that.
Sure.
Because, there's always going to be something
that's better. What could bump it up to an A plus for you? What's something that could have happened in the show where you were like, that's an A plus. That blew me away. You can't get better than that. Andrew Scott, come on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It focuses so much on Andrew Scott's characters. I feel like if we could have got a little bit more from some of the supporting cast, like they're used effectively, but they weren't sort of celebrated as much as that singular performance was, which I understand. But I think that's the difference between an A and an A plus. So I'll give it an A.
I love that. Well, thank you, Carl, and thank you for Present Laughter. We'll do a very
Goodbye.
light clap. No, you can stay.
I'm leaving.
Please stay, Carl.
I'm back.
He's back. Great. All right, let's just go around the table. Amy, you're going to talk about a show now, and what is your show that you have selected?
Well, the only show I managed to get to see in 2020 was The Fix at Newcastle Theatre Company. I'm not going to be able to give as articulate a review as the one that you just heard.
Well, that was originally a Knock and Run production.
It was, yeah. Knock and Run produced that in 2017, and it was restaged late 2020
Yes.
by Black Sheep Theatre at
In
Newcastle Theatre
conjunction,
as part of the indie season there, yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So, full disclosure, obviously I know the person who wrote this particular...
We all do, and we
small
love
town.
him.
Yes, wrote and starred in Des Robertson. So I've known Des for many years. He's been involved in Newcastle Theatre, as anybody here would know. But my experience with him has always been in music theatre. So he was the Che to my Ava in Evita in 2016. And we also did a show many, many years ago called The Wild Party, where we played a couple, Eddie and May. So
this is completely objective review.
Yeah, so look, just like I said, full disclosure. Look, and I know that back then when I was first kind of doing some work with Des, that he was interested in writing this show and he was looking to get it produced. So it's been a long time in the making, I know that. And a couple of times it's kind of fallen over, and then fortunately, Knock and Run came along and staged it. I didn't get to see that production, so I can't do a comparison.
It was really good.
I'm sure it was amazing.
Speaking of bias,
it was a different cast makeup, wasn't it?
It was different. It was Des directed it at that time, but it starred Tim Blundell, who was in both versions, but it also starred Tony Gluck, who I don't even think lives in Newcastle anymore. So I believe that's probably why that casting decision happened.
I see. Yeah. Well, it's interesting actually, because maybe I'll move straight to the kind of, I know we do highlights and lowlights.
Yeah.
One thing I would have been interested to see was how an actor a bit removed from the script might have interpreted that character, because I feel like given that Des was so closely aligned with the story, it makes me wonder how fixed, if you excuse the expression, how fixed his kind of perception of that role is.
Carl's right, maybe we should talk about the story a little bit. Just because I don't think, there'll be people who didn't see either version still.
Yeah.
So, what was the show about?
Well, without giving away too much, I guess, the show it's a two-person play, and the two characters are basically on top of a high-rise building, and one of them is a corporate lawyer who seems intent on ending his life, and the other one is a security guard from the building, and he kind of stumbles across this person who looks like they're about to die. And so it kind of evolves from there, and it's the thing that makes this so brilliant, I guess, is that that's the entire premise of the whole show. The set never changes. It's the same two people on stage the entire time. So to be able
and it plays
to
out in real time too, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And to be able to hold that for an entire performance is quite a feat in itself. So that's the kind of basic storyline. But yeah, I think that's what really impressed me the most, was that these two performers did such a brilliant job of telling that story. So, managing to kind of keep the flow throughout and kind of keep it interesting. And
I think as performers, I don't know, I get a perverse little thrill because my favorite type of show is when actors just get to act. And they remove everything else, you don't need to worry about the set or costume changes or anything. Like
minimalist costumes, minimal set, no set changes.
Yeah.
The lighting is just the same basically throughout the whole piece, virtually.
So you really do get to stay with these characters, which I really, really enjoy.
Which is a huge challenge for a director to direct as well. And I think that one thing I've always thought with directing is when it's bad, you really notice it. When it's good, you don't notice it at all. You kind of forget that it's being directed. And I watched that performance thinking, you forgot that this was being directed by someone. It looked like it was just two actors going about their business. So I think Angela McEwen directed it. I thought she did a really good job at that.
She did a brilliant job. Yeah. It was, I thought it was great. I don't really have any criticism as such. Other than, like I said, I kind of wish I could have maybe seen it from an actor's perspective.
Yeah, totally.
But
one thing I noticed, and again, bias in the room, I produced it the first time, but they obviously use different venues. So the first time it was produced in 2017 was at the Royal Exchange, and then the second time in 2020 was at Newcastle Theatre Company. So obviously Newcastle Theatre Company has a bigger stage to work with, which was a massive benefit.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did notice that happened a couple of times, because they are standing on top of a high rise, and one of the characters in particular is facing out over the ledge behind, facing the back wall essentially, there was such a depth between the back wall of the theatre and where they were standing that when they turned around to talk, their voices actually really got lost. And you can kind of view it in one or two ways. One, it's accurate. It's what would happen if you were on top of a building and someone took off. But two, you couldn't hear what they were saying, and I'm in the audience, and I like to hear what the actors are doing.
Yeah.
So that was one thing where that didn't work for me. And I remember the original production had, it wasn't a backdrop, but it was like a projection of a cityscape, which I really liked.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a backdrop, but we couldn't afford it. This performance just had sort of a black wall at the back.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to have a backdrop of some sort of cityscape there, but I imagine that was a budgetary thing.
Well, and it's a theatrical convention, but I'm always very aware of presentational acting.
Yeah.
Obviously, if this were a situation where they were just on a building, they'd have a chat regardless, but sometimes, it's when you bring that performance down to the front a little bit, and you sort of like, well, we're being given this angle because you need to talk to us because we're the ones watching this show. So there was that a little bit where you're like become a little aware it's the show when they come on down and sort of yearn out to you, even though they're doing it to the ether.
Yeah. Amy, what for you was, it's a difficult question because it is a two-hander. So you have to pick one or the other. Who was your favorite performance in the play?
Oh, yeah, that's
it's hard
tricky.
it's hard to answer, isn't it?
I feel like because of the characters as well, I feel like Timothy Blundell, who played the security guard, had a lot more room to move. And he really leaned into that character.
And he's also played it before too. He's had more experience with that character.
Yeah,
I do think that character is a very Tim Blundell character. It's very well suited to him.
Absolutely.
Well, and a little insight is that I think it was written.
For him.
No, it wasn't. It was the opposite kind of person. It was meant to be, someone very physically imposing, very big.
So not Tim Blundell.
No. Which is why he aced it.
Yeah,
he killed it.
Yeah. All right. And so apart from performances, for you, what was the highlight of the whole thing?
Well, I guess the whole reason I was interested in seeing the show was because I have some background in the theme. I worked in suicide prevention for over a decade. And I know that Des has actually had quite a lot of experience in crisis counselling. So I knew that he'd have a really informed perspective on what it looks like and what it feels like to be somebody who's thinking about ending their life. And so I knew that it would go against the kind of the stereotypes and the cliches that you often see when people try to explore suicide as a theme. So I was really interested in seeing how he did that.
And did you feel like he handled that really well?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, I think he obviously he went into the kind of complexities, which is what I want to see. I don't want to see it kind of, made into this really simple kind of issue. But I also think he did things that were unexpected with it as well. It wasn't just about somebody kind of pouring out their heart about their woeful life or the things that had kind of led them there. There was lots of dynamic in it, I guess.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And I thought he did it in a really kind of responsible way as well. He did it in a way that was not going to be harmful to vulnerable people who are kind of watching it and listening to the story. So yeah, I was really impressed.
Great. How would you grade this? If you were an elementary school teacher in America, how would you be grading this?
How would you grade
a piece of theatre?
Little Mr. Fix.
I would be the nice teacher. I'd probably give it an A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love The Fix. I think that's why I chose to put it on the first time. It's such a well-written piece. I think I've told Des and Angela, I've said, you need to take this to, Adelaide Fringe, just Fringe festivals. It's a very easy show to tour. You would win awards if you took that to Fringe festivals.
Well, and let's not forget they won the Condor for Best Production and
which
Best
I was
Director.
so thrilled. They didn't get any Condor noms the first year it was put on, and I just thought they really deserved them because it's especially for the writing as well. The writing of the play is such a great piece. Yeah.
Well, and the rest of the world caught up finally.
Yeah, exactly. Just 3 years too late, but they did get there, which is awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks, Amy. Bec, step up to the plate.
And I hope you know that by this choice, it means you have the least beard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Bec, so you have picked a play that wasn't on in the last 12 months. You're sort of going back into your memory.
Yeah, I'm going to take everyone back in time to 2016. No, I don't get to see as much theatre as I would love to.
Yeah.
But this was also a really hard thing to kind of choose a favourite show because every show that I have seen, I come away and I'm like, that was my favourite show. and every show that I see, whether it be a play or a musical, I find something in it that I absolutely love. So I really like to laugh. So
how weird.
Yeah.
Gross.
I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy laughing.
I haven't laughed in 10 years. Tell me a joke.
I attend weekly funerals to keep it all steady.
Consistency, that's good. That's
absolutely.
Good. So a show that stood out to me in my memory was Noises Off, which was in 2016 at NTC. And essentially it's a 3-act play. And it's a farce within a farce. So the first act is showing the dress rehearsal and the process of kind of putting the show together and all of the dramas that kind of come as part of that. And the second act is actually behind the scenes and shows essentially everything falling apart, but the actor's still going through the doors to the other side of the stage that you can't see, and putting on the show and then coming backstage and then dramas continue and it's very physical comedy and it all kind of falls apart. And then the third act, the set is spun around again and you get to see the play itself and how it's deteriorated throughout the season as a result of all these dramas and everything that happens backstage. And it's just absolutely ridiculous and hilarious. And I just remember coming away going, that was a good belly laugh and I liked it.
I didn't get to see it in 2016, but I remember everyone that I spoke to that did see it said roughly the same thing. It was the funniest thing that they'd seen.
It was part of a 1-2 punch of that year because there was earlier, there was the One Day of the Year, which was a really strong Anzac show.
Yeah.
And then they brought Noises Off and I saw that same production and I agree with you, it was an absolutely wonderful show, especially because they kept to the manic pace. Farce has such a demand on people, and I think people take that for granted that you'll get laughs if you just do it pretty fast. No, you're meant to be doing it manically fast, and that was what the propulsion that this cast had, which I saw as well. Was
and the exaggerated physicality of it and everything was just, it was done so well.
It's been a while. It's been this is 5 years on from 2016, essentially.
Oh God!
So I'm testing your memory here, but do you who was in that play? I know a couple just from memory, but who stood out to you?
Well, at that point in time, I was still very new to the theatre scene, so I didn't know many people.
Yeah.
I remember Andrew Black was in it.
Yes.
And Adele Richards directed.
Right.
But as Carl was saying, in terms of ensembles, it was just a really strong, cohesive ensemble, and everyone worked really well together.
I think Carl you were a kind of judge at the time, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Did that from memory, was that a best ensemble winner?
It was.
Play? Yeah.
We took the efforts of the whole cast into consideration,
Yeah.
and the show does not work if the ensemble does not work together. That's
Yeah.
another wonderful example, like Present Laughter, where you need the ensemble to be cohesive and to work together to create the same goal. And because they did it to such a great effect, we thought it was worthy of best ensemble.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So is it a hard one to pick a favorite performer in, because it is so ensemble driven back? Was there someone you were like, yeah, that person, even if you don't remember their name,
Yeah,
you can remember the kind of character?
Every single character within the show was so unique, and they all had their own individual little storylines. I remember there was a blonde lady with a corset, and she was just so hilariously distant and mindless and ditzy, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really funny.
Do you have any idea who that might have been, Carl?
Know the first name, don't know the last
okay.
one.
What's the first name?
Rebecca.
I wouldn't be able to help you there. Yeah, no.
It's not
well done, Rebecca, whoever you are.
Yeah.
It's
Great
not my
job.
segment to shout out, but I'll shout out Brian Randall, who played the director in that
Yes,
production.
he was fantastic.
Who was a wonderful exaggeration of the worst director that you would want to work with.
Oh, yeah. And now let's go around and say the worst director we've ever worked with.
James Chapman.
What? Yeah, well, that's good. Okay, so Bec, that performances aside, what else really stood out to you? What was something that made this really special for you, apart from actors?
I really loved the set design, actually, because it's a really hard one to kind of navigate that. Things had to fall apart,
Yeah.
and you had to have multi-levels, and it was all intricately designed and put together so that within each intermission break you could spin the set around and show the other side of like the behind the scenes workings of
I wish
how
I'd seen
a
that.
set
That
works.
sounds so amazing.
It was
It's an
very
impressive
good.
trick because they can't spin that stage around. They have
No,
to
it's
do it
a-
all by...
yeah.
Yeah, and
So there was no revolve. I would imagine a
wasn't a
professional, like overseas production, would have a full revolve. Nope.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
yeah, so it was on the stage at NTC, which
Yeah.
isn't huge, but they had it, I think it was in 3 pieces. And so in the intermission, they just spun each individual
Oh, that's
piece
great.
around.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and it was great as an audience member. I didn't want to go to the bathroom or go and get something to eat.
You
I
get
wanted to
watch
sit
it
there
in
and
the
watch it all
intermission.
happen.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's like really good direction and
Yeah.
set design.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay, all right. What would you give it, Miss Kynaston, the American school teacher?
Kynaston?
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm very easily pleased.
Yeah.
And I'm not the best theatre critic because every show I see, I would find something fantastic within it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give it an A.
Oh, with 3 A's. We might have a perfect game here going,
It's aces.
depending what I give this one, the one that I'm going to review.
F.
Yeah, it's a fail. I'm picking whatever Carl was in last. I can't remember the name of it.
Doll's House.
Oh no, that was actually really good. I'm giving that an A.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to talk about. I was going to talk about the campaign which I saw earlier last year with Matt Lee in it, but I thought it was a bit too far in my memory. I couldn't remember the details, so I'm going to go with one that I've seen a bit more recently, which was Being Sellers, which was produced by Stray Dogs Theatre at the Civic Playhouse. I think in November of 2020. It was probably the first show I'd seen back at the Playhouse since COVID shut everything down, apart from like Hunter drama shows, which I'd worked on. So it was the first time actually coming in as an audience member, sitting down to watch a play I had no idea about, and it was really cathartic to be able to come back and enjoy theatre.
So you haven't seen it before, though, because it has been staged before.
I didn't even know that it had been staged before. No, I had no idea anything about it, which kind of goes into one of my criticisms. I don't know who Peter Sellers is.
Right.
That's the kind of the big issue. I know the name, but I don't have the context of why he's important or why Carl spent such a long time writing a play.
Carl Caulfield.
Carl Caulfield. But I'll go through the positives first. So Being Sellers, well, I'll go through the story first. So Being Sellers is a one-man show that kind of chronicles the last moments of Peter Sellers in like a hospital room, and he's kind of going through these like dying hallucinations and comas, reliving his life, big moments from his history, from his childhood, from his marriages and with his kids, and kind of reflecting on his previous mistakes. And I hope that synopsis does it justice. It probably doesn't. It's probably a lot more complex than that. But
yeah, for those who don't know Peter Sellers is
Yes.
a comedic performer who blew up in the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
He was in Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Wearing Love the
I
Bomb.
thought you were going to say Doctor Strange.
Yeah, he was in Doctor Strange.
He was in Doctor Strange. He played the cloak.
He played Dormammu.
Yeah.
I've come to bargain.
I really enjoyed the play. A lot of that had to do with the fact that I hadn't been in a theatre for so long. So the positives for me are the performance itself, the writing of the play, and both of those have to go out to Carl Caulfield because he wrote it and acted in it. I know from experience, acting in a one-man show for an hour and a half is a really, really difficult thing to do. So he pulled it off really, really well. And more so, he played he played Peter Sellers playing different characters, and he was really hilarious with what he did. The writing was so good, and I really loved maybe it is a cliche of that idea of like, oh, dying character reliving past moments, and that's the format of the play. But I don't mind it. I don't mind a cliche when it works. I really enjoyed that, and the set is probably one thing that I really loved. They turned the playhouse, probably the most creative use of the playhouse I'd seen for a really, really long time. They basically had like the mega deck on top of the playhouse stage, so that the whole stage was kind of risen up, and they had used the scrim at the back and turned it into a sort of like a hospital room, like with curtains that go around the bed. And I went with Daniel Soder, and we were sitting there trying to figure out how they did that, if they had actually, taken the screen and actually moved the, like the white cyc at the back, if they'd actually curled it around, which is what Daniel thought. I was like, maybe they just pulled it tight in the middle, and then they added 2 like pieces of steel at the top, and then dropped down a similar type of fabric. But that's the kind of...
Did you get to find out?
No.
Dang.
So if anyone knows, if anyone's listening, let us know. I'm probably wrong, but I really like those kinds of sets where you just don't know how they did it. Where it's like, how did they? It's probably something like with was it Noises Off? Yeah, Noises Off. Yeah, where you're just like, how did they even get through that?
I think it's also worth shouting out the lighting in that. The
lighting was fantastic,
which was an extraordinary contributor to the tone, and because it's setting up ghosts from his past and like putting him in spotlights to show isolation.
Do you know who did the lighting for that? I couldn't.
I shook my head. Which is horrible for a podcast.
No. Well, whoever it was did a really great job. But Carl Caulfield really steals the show here because it's his show. He's allowed to steal whatever he likes.
He stole from himself.
That leads me sort of to the pitfalls for me, and it's not even a problem with the show. It's not anything to do with the show. It's just I was not the intended audience for this show. So my enjoyment was impacted by the fact that this is a show for older people who know who Peter Sellers is, who appreciate his work. It's like if you had an 80-year-old go and watch the Rick and Morty musical. They're not going to get the same out of it as me, a very intelligent boy.
It's Nutri-Grain. You only get out what you put in. So if you already know Peter Sellers and you have a great appreciation for his kind of comedy and the Goon Show and that kind of stuff, then you absolutely get a lot from it.
It gave me a pretty good understanding of who Peter Sellers was. It wasn't compelling enough for me to be like, oh, I need to find out more about Peter Sellers and do my research and go, why? Like that for me, I didn't get that out of it. But, I was sitting there and I was looking at the rest of the audience whose age was a lot higher than mine. And they were like fucking loving it. They were in stitches. They were loving it. So I'm clearly not the intended audience for this show. So I can like sit back and appreciate what it was for what it was. But for me, it didn't blow me away.
So with all that said, what would you give it?
Am I an American teacher?
You are. Okay. Here's a backstory.
Okay.
37 years as a teacher. Okay. You want to
37 years as a teacher.
Yeah. You want to reach these kids.
Yeah.
But they're just giving you nothing, man.
Yeah.
But you understand it's the system.
Am I in a city or like trying to get to the...
Yeah. And you're sitting on a chair but backwards like Alanis Morissette?
Yeah, okay, ready?
Okay, yeah, cool.
Listen up, you little shits! Listen up! I'm going to give you a grade rating for your play that you did.
This is going well.
I'm not even doing an accent.
You're killing it.
I'm giving you a B. I give him a B. I think if I was,
For being Sellers. I'll leave.
No. I'll leave. If I was probably a little older, if I knew the context around Peter Sellers, for me, it probably would have bumped it up to an A. The stagecraft was all there. The performance was fantastic. The lighting and set were just awesome. And the direction, I haven't even mentioned the direction. Like I said before, doing a one-man show is really hard. It's hard to act it. It's probably even harder to direct it. And, like I was saying with The Fix, when you notice directing, it usually means it's not great. You're like, oh, that person's trying too hard. When you forget that there was a director involved, then you're like, oh, that was good. I forgot that this was even like directed by someone. Yeah. Like it just feels so natural. So
that would be Felicity Biggins.
Who was the director again?
I actually couldn't find out. Do you
Felicity
know who
Biggins.
Felicity Biggins was.
My wife, yes.
Your wife?
Yeah. Well, Carl Caulfield's wife, yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought it was, but I couldn't find that information on my cursory Google search.
That's okay. I was there.
I wasn't going to pay for a subscription to the Newcastle Herald to find out. So
the what?
The Newcastle Herald?
Never heard of it.
It's a newspaper, Carl. Read it.
I'm sorry. I'm on my Twitter.
God, I'm not for much longer.
No.
You right-wing fanatic.
I've been blocked.
Well, yes. So I will go B. So we had an A for
Present Laughter.
We had an A for The Fix.
Correct.
An A for Noises Off.
Yes.
And a B for Being Sellers.
We're just off ABBA.
Yeah. Look, so not a perfect game, but I think that's on me.
Kudos.
I'm the mean teacher. Good job.
Kudos,
Silent
everyone.
clap for all the theatre that we saw.
Golf clap.
We're moving on to our next segment of the day now. And you guys, I mean, I don't know if people at home can see, but we have a little camera. Not a camera, a little box.
Do you think boxes are cameras?
I'm so confused. We have a camera here. I did it again. We have a box here. And in this box are 12 magical questions. So we put the call out on Facebook and Instagram for people to submit questions they would like to ask actors and theatre practitioners, which we all are. So I've put in those slips of paper in the box, and we're going to pull one out, and we're going to talk about it today. And Bec, would you like to do the honours?
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm nervous.
So you can read what's on there. And also, if it has a name, you can read who submitted it.
For listeners, it is like a little treasure chest.
It is a little
very
yes,
exciting.
Yeah. And there are 12. We're going to do one every month until the box is empty.
Wow.
Great. All right. What do we got?
Okay. Oh, it's from Anonymous.
Okay. Oh my, like the hackers?
You've been hacked. All your pictures are ours.
Why do theatre companies precast and say they don't, then hold open auditions?
Right.
Okay.
So I think it's like, why do companies say, hey, we're opening auditions up, and then they've actually already precasted?
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's what they're trying to say?
Yeah, well, and
Good question.
I certainly asked this question myself when I was a younger performer, because of course, you try and go for every opportunity that you can, but some are already closed off by the time you're, in the audition process, which can feel extremely unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I am not from that end of the spectrum, but from my personal experience, and I've never been precast before, but I think that, I don't know, if there's somebody in mind when you're planning to put on a show and you have a vision in your mind of what you want that show to look like, it makes sense to approach that person first.
Yeah.
And I've been part of shows where, and especially the beginning process where you're thinking about doing a show, sometimes that is sparked by a performer that you know. Like I understand Nicholas Thorogood, who just did our production of A Doll's House in Maitland Rep, did that show because of Anna Lambert, who was the lead performer. They have that kind of relationship where it sparked that interest in that show to do that, and so you have to pick a starting point to build from. Sometimes that is a play, sometimes that's an actor that inspires the rest.
Have you been precast before, Amy?
Yes.
What were you precast in?
I'm trying to think now. I have done a couple of music theatre pieces where I've been approached and they've said, well, maybe not necessarily precast, but said, you really should audition for this.
I think that's a different thing.
That might be a slightly different thing. There was definitely one show I remember that I was specifically asked to play a role. But,
you've been a director before, Carl, and so you've been on that side of the casting decision where it's like, okay, so I have this play, I have this character, and I know who'd be really good in it. And in some ways it feels a bit of a waste of time and a little bit mean to audition a role if you know you're going to give it to someone.
Well, for instance, my directorial debut, Art, which was in September of last year.
Did you say Fart?
Yeah, Fart. I directed a show called Fart. It's an award-winning Tony original production called
It was
Fart.
a one-man show, Carl Gregory sitting there farting into a microphone.
It only went for 45 seconds, which is pretty impressive.
Which is pretty good for a fart.
I did that for 2 weeks.
Yeah. To an audience of hundreds.
It was Yasmina Reza's Art, and it's 3 performers, all 50s and above, and I didn't hold auditions for that show. I straight up precast it. And then that's because as my directorial debut, I did not have the confidence to leave those performances up to auditions. I may have found some people that were absolutely wonderful and could have done the production just as well. That's not to say. I just didn't have the confidence in myself as a director, and that's nothing to say about the quality of auditions or people out there. I think we could have very easily cast it by holding open auditions, but it was very much, I need to know that for this first project, I have to be able to trust these people, and I picked people that I've worked with and knew and trusted. I can absolutely sympathize and empathize with performers who are locked out of parts that they would love to go for. It does feel incredibly unfair because
I've been there before. It's rough.
And through no fault of your own.
But it also opens up opportunities. So I've auditioned for shows where the role that I specifically would have loved to play had been precast.
Yes.
But then I tried for something else, got that role, and then absolutely loved every second of it. So and wouldn't have changed it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those limitations do sometimes breed moments, like particularly with Knock and Run. I auditioned for Year of the Rooster for the role of Gil.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we want you to play a bin chicken. What was the character's name again? Bat Dolphin.
Yeah, Bat Dolphin. That's right. And I ended up going. You ended up casting me in another role.
It really. I mean, this is a good opportunity to talk about knock and runs because we don't publicize it. We do have a policy on auditions, which is we don't do closed auditions. We don't do pre-casting. The only instance where pre-casting happens is if the actor or someone presents the play to us and says, "I want you guys should stage this show. I would like to play this role." It seems unfair to me to like not get them to be involved in the project they pitched us. It hasn't happened that often, to be completely honest. Most of the time with knock and run, when it comes to pre-casting, it's me. So it's because I know I'm going to be in the show, so I'm producing it, so it's just easier. But I think that the question is, why did people?
Yeah, I want to get back to the question.
Why did people? Read it out for us.
Why do theatre companies precast and then say they don't?
Yeah.
Then hold open auditions.
I think that is an issue.
We can all agree that that's not the right way to go about things.
No, just be transparent with what you're doing. If you are holding auditions for some roles and not others. I don't think you need to say, we are auditioning these roles, the rest are precast. You can just say, we're auditioning these roles.
Yeah.
And people can read into that, be like, okay, what about the other ones? I guess they were already cast.
For instance, Newcastle Theatre Company recently did Present Laughter, and they had precast the role of Gary Essendon.
Yeah.
Now, from the very start of those auditions, they said, this part is absolutely cast.
Yeah.
So from here, you can go for the rest of these parts.
Yeah.
That's the right way to do it.
I agree.
Be clear and communicative about who you have already been involved. And then go from there. But we can all agree that this kind of
that's not good. Yeah,
it's not. It's informal precasting and then pretending like, oh no, you can go for any role. It feels an absolute waste of time.
I think both Bec and you, Carl, all three of you, I've in the past been like, hey, you should audition for this role, and the reason I've said that to you is because I can see you in the role. So, but it's usually not. You're the only person I can see in the role.
No.
Like for Suicide Inc., Carl, we used to live together at the time when I read that play, and I was like, oh man, I can picture you as Norm, but I still made you audition because I'm very open to the possibility that someone's going to come in and be way better than you.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think there's a danger to being precast.
I think so too.
And I can speak from a privileged position because unfortunately I'm part of a demographic that is underrepresented in Newcastle, which means that I get offers more to play parts. And
what demographic are you talking about?
Like the 25 to 35-year-old guy.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's an abundance of roles for that, and there's six actors.
Yeah, and there's
I get the same thing.
You see the same faces, and that can feel very annoying.
Yeah.
And it's not based on my own skill. It's based on I look like this and I'm this old.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's. I want to go back to what you said about Norm, because sometimes being precast is a bad thing, because auditioning actually, if you earn a part, I think
want
personally,
it more,
and it makes you think about the part in a different way. If you're precast, you can kind of just coast in and go like, well, I've got this, I don't need to worry about this. But if you're actively trying to win a role and you're mining for information and it's changing the way that you perform and that you present that idea, I think it actually does that a lot more.
Yeah.
My advice to all casting directors or theatre company heads is to avoid precasting when you can. Only do it sparingly. Like a good example is what very popular theatre does, where they have headline actors from overseas. They obviously are just going to not make them audition for their play. They get them and then they rehearse and they come in. Obviously but then they audition the rest of the ensemble, and I think that's a really interesting and good way of doing it. The bad way of doing it is you have a play with 5 characters in it and you precast 4 of them, and you leave one role available for every actor in Newcastle to sort of audition for. That was happening a lot, sort of pre-2016, I think, early 2010s. I know, I was in that demographic of young male actors. Plenty of male actor roles being written, but still really struggling to find anything to act in because they were always getting precast by ensemble members or company members of those companies. So I think that, and auditions are such a great opportunity to meet people too.
Yeah.
Every single audition that we've done for knock and run shows, there have been people come in who don't get a role, but we remember them and we recommend them coming back in for another one. And sometimes it takes them 2 or 3 times to get cast. But it's something I tell my students is that you should just audition for everything, even if you don't get it, because it's such a valuable thing to go in. I remember an audition for, I think it was The Return that Stooge Theatre did. That was my first audition. I didn't get it, but I met Carl Young I met Matt Lee, and they actually asked me to come back and audition for something else, which I didn't get. But it was still like, but it was
They're
still
just, like, shutting you down.
It was nice getting a foot in the door and meeting them and being remembered in auditions. I think
It
that's
puts you
super
on
valuable.
their radar as well.
Of course,
doesn't
yeah.
it? Like,
Yeah.
I remember you had a small role in Love Songs.
That's right, I did, yeah. And I think that's where that came from, because I'd
Yeah.
auditioned for them 2 or 3 times, and I wasn't right for any of the parts they had, but they still liked me enough to give me a small role in one of their plays as a waiter. Yeah.
Just as an offshoot of that question, how do you feel about casting kind of when there's a preference for people who have worked with that theatre company before? Like there's kind of a loyalty bonus. What is that?
I actually feel speaking personally through Knock and Run, feel the opposite way. I think that when you work too much with one person, they get too tethered to the company, and it becomes a bit detrimental. I kind of prefer to work with new actors. It depends obviously on who auditions, but for example, The Unseen, which is going to be back on in March after not happening last year. Those 3 actors, Matt, Phil and Paul, all in different Knock and Run shows back in. But then we look at 2.0. Which will be in April. All 5 of those actors have never been in a show before. And then you look at Trevor, and I think most of those actors also have never been in a Knock and Run show before. So for me, I prefer to sort of diversify. Carl's been in, how many Knock and Run shows have you been in?
3.
3.
Yeah.
So Carl's an awesome actor.
Thank you.
Carl has to work harder now in his auditions for me
Much
to be
harder.
like, yeah, because I don't want people to just see Norm or the Chicken Man, or what was the other one?
That was Norm again.
Oh yeah, Norm again. No, what? Oh, Norm again, we did it twice. Yeah,
we did it
totally.
twice.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. So that's my thinking. What do you guys think?
I want to talk about what Amy said, which is that kind of loyalty bonus that goes into already working with an established company or a company with established relationships. Auditions are a risk-taking behavior. At the very base of it, you are just reaching out and hoping that you find people that can fulfill those parts. So it's I can understand it's an instinct of companies to lean on people that they know can deliver. You know, there's got to be some guarantees to this process. That's not to say it's always a good thing. Like you said, you can become very rote, very stale. If you just see the same people playing the same parts or in the same company,
It gets boring.
Yeah.
Well, you just the spark of it, it loses its luster.
And that's that's one of the pitfalls of Newcastle theatre, is it is a relatively small community, and we do know each other, and we do see the same actors over and over again. A benefit of being an actor that hasn't been in anything before is that I have nothing to compare it to. I don't have to be like, oh, she was great, but that's exactly the same as the show I saw in 3 months ago.
I can't tell you how excited I get when it's some new person in a really key
in a
role.
big role.
And you just get blown away, and then all of a sudden you become a fan of this person.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, when are you going to do something again? They're like, oh, maybe in 2 or 3 years. You're like, no,
come back.
come back.
But then they do like 6 in a row, you're like, take a break, buddy. Like, relax.
All right, I get it.
I'm sick of you.
All right, I understand. Not
you. Not you. I would never call you buddy.
Oh, thank you.
I would never.
And that's why I love Knock and Run.
No, casting is a really, obviously such a critical part. And there's nothing to say that you can't do the audition and not cast anyone. You could have a specific role that you're looking for someone for, and you do the auditions, the open auditions, and no one that comes through is good enough.
Yeah.
And then you can go to your friend or someone you've worked with and be like, hey, look, we auditioned it, couldn't find anyone. Do you want to do it? Maybe just say you auditioned, like that kind of thing.
I'll take one last stab at this question because it's a bit of a personal story. I attempted to direct a production back in 2013 called Sleep with Newcastle Theatre Company. You know this, James, because you ended up in the lead role for that.
Tell the story.
It's a whole saga. I'll save it for another podcast. Okay. But in that instance, I auditioned the 2 roles in that show because it's a young man and it's an old man. I held open auditions for that show, but I definitely had precasted in my mind, which is absolutely not the right way to go about things. And it really did. That became a lesson that I learned very hard.
Yeah.
But to answer this question honestly, it's because as a producer or as a director, you are scared that you may not get what you want from the people you have. You want the opportunity to say, hey, this person came in, they absolutely blew me away. So while there's informal precasting, you would have the opportunity to say, well, then there's this other person as well, So it's not hard and fast promising someone. It's saying, I'd like to see you in this role.
Yeah.
And then getting blown away. So why do companies precast and then don't and hold open auditions? They want every opportunity they can to make the best version of the show. That's not the right thing to do at all, but it comes from a place of, in my part, fear that I wouldn't get what I needed.
Yeah.
So I think, brutally honestly, that's why some companies may do that.
A little jump off from that story, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah.
Same show. I auditioned for that, didn't get in, but I don't know if it was you or someone else asked me to be an assistant director or a stage manager or something.
Yeah.
Which was another great way of getting your foot in the door. That was the first play I think I'd auditioned for. And when you left the project and the other actors sort of fell out, they just asked me to do it because I'd been assistant directing it for so long.
Yeah,
so see, like there's so many avenues to get on in there. I think that's why auditioning is so important.
Right, you were nominated for that performance, so it was a wonderful.
So was everyone that year, but I'll take it. Yeah, Sleuth is a great show.
25 nominations.
Only 25. Yeah. How many women were nominated for the musical? One. Cool. Yeah.
I wasn't a judge that year.
You weren't.
You can't do that to me.
No,
I'm not going to wear that.
Yeah. Well, I think let's start to wrap it up. And our last segment today is called Coming Soon. Can any of you do like a movie? There you go. Coming soon. How about you guys can do like a coming soon? Yeah, can you harmonize?
That wasn't me, by the way.
Is it a compliment that people might think that was you?
People don't say I'm a singer, but I am.
I have perfect pitch. So we're going to talk about what's coming soon in the month of February. What you can see in Newcastle and the surrounding areas. I don't have the specific dates for these, but you can go check them out. I'm not your mum. Okay.
But what if you are?
The very popular theatre company is putting on Chess. Finally, after having to postpone from last year, Chess is happening late February. Is anyone in that? No one here's in that?
Nobody I know.
Amen.
Yes, I will be in that.
Yay.
Playing the role of Svetlana, the wife of the Russian chess player.
You would know the dates off the top of your head, wouldn't you?
I know it's the last weekend
There
of
you go.
February. I always get them. That's like 27,
Yeah.
28. Sunday.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Yeah.
One of your dates.
And another one, Carl, you're in this one. Do your parents know you straight from Barefoot Theatre making its return, I think for the second time only, at the Civic Playhouse?
Yes, it's part of the Civic subscription season. It's
Yeah.
written by the artistic director of Barefoot Theatre, Riley McLean. It is a story about these young characters coming to terms with their sexuality in a world that doesn't accept them. It's an extraordinary script. It's an original Newcastle written production and has a huge ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And those dates are from the 17th to the 20th at the Civic Playhouse in February.
And it's a really good ensemble cast too. There's a lot of knock and run people coming to that show. There's Carl himself, there's Phil Ross, Angela McEwen. I think that might be it actually.
That's
knock and run wise, but there's a lot
it-
of other good people in it too.
Well, and Barefoot has its own wonderful ensemble,
course, yeah.
and they're coming out in full force, and I'm very excited for that
Totally.
show.
We also have from Catapult Dance, Awkward, I believe, happening at the Civic. That's kind of theatre adjacent. It's a dance concert sort of deal. But I saw one of their shows. I can't remember what it was called.
Well, they used to submit their shows for content consideration
Yeah.
before they started, doing like a lot bigger stuff.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Catapult. They are
Catapult's
extraordinary.
Katie is
performers.
like probably one of the best artists in Newcastle, just in terms of what they do. Like definitely the expert in contemporary dance.
Yeah,
for sure. I don't remember what it was called the last time they did a big show, but it was fantastic. So if you can see Awkward, I definitely would recommend it. We also have Murder on the Nile at
Yes, that's
Newcastle
right.
Theatre Company. I don't
Agatha
know
Christie.
much about that play, but the cast looks really good. So get along to see that as well.
Well, and just before the movie comes out.
There's a movie out.
Yeah, they're doing the Army Hammer Gal Gadot Murder on the Nile. So
love
before that happens, go check out.
Good timing, NTC. That's really smart. That's smart producing. I don't know who made that choice. Let's just give the credit to Claire Williams. And
golf clap.
just not shows, but other things that you might be interested in. Tantrum Youth Arts has a residency that they're taking applications for. That's a really good opportunity. There's also auditions for the Laramie project happening as well, and I don't have the details at the top of my head, but you can find that.
That is Newcastle Theatre Company.
That's NTC?
That's directed by
Yeah.
Zach Smith. It's a
So
great.
Carl should just run the whole show, I think.
I'm just way
He
too.
knows all
I'm
the
just
stuff.
way too close to Newcastle
What
Theatre.
a fucking nerd.
It's a verbatim piece of theatre about a gay hate crime that happened in the, I think, late 90s, early 2000s. It's a wonderful production to be involved in. You get to play a lot of different parts, so go audition for that. The details should be on the Newcastle Theatre Company Facebook.
I mean, all this stuff is being posted in the Newcastle Theatre Network.
Which is an absolutely wonderful resource.
Yeah, I'm an admin now, so go on there and I'll add you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, really good stuff happening. What are you guys most excited for next month? I'll go first. I'm keen for Chess. I bought my tickets ages ago. I'm really keen for Chess. I even forgot Amy was in that, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen myself, actually. Given
finally
that
get on
we were
there.
supposed to actually stage it in March
Oh my
last
God.
year.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, wow.
we were pretty much ready to go on stage when that got shut down. It was about 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
And obviously, having two big actors coming from outside of the Newcastle area, there was a lot of logistics in that. David's coming all the way from New York. So yeah, it's been a long time coming, but I feel like we'll be prepared at least.
Beck, what are you keen for?
Also chess, but I'm also really excited to head to Sydney and see Rent at the Opera House.
Yes, that was off my list. Yeah, with Knock and Run's very own Marissa Soroka.
Yeah.
Well, not Knock and Runs. We don't own her.
Newcastle's
she's her own
very own
person.
Marissa
Newcastle's very own Mrs. Soroka. Absolutely crushing it. Stepped into a main role.
Well, and she also killed it in Ajax in Iraq. Speaking of Knock and Run.
Yeah, and Rent the first time as well.
Yeah.
Was it the first or second? There were lots of rents that year. We won't talk about
There
that.
were rents. There will be rents.
Carl, what are you excited for?
Selfishly, I'm very excited for Dipkiss. I think
Yeah.
that's an extraordinary show, and I can't wait for Newcastle especially people who didn't see it the first time, to come see it now. But I am excited about Murder on the Nile.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, and I love whodunits. And I don't know the twist in this one, if there is one.
The butler did it. Oh, it was the Nile.
Yeah,
it was a crocodile.
I saw a wave holding a knife.
Great. Well, Amy, did you say what you said? Chess.
I did, but
Yeah,
I
that's
did
yours.
mention the Laramie project. I thought sounded really interesting, particularly because they seem to be interested in casting a really wide net in terms
Yeah.
of finding, an interesting and diverse
Yeah.
cast.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
Speaking
great.
of this month's question, they want a very, very varied ensemble.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, just to wrap up, you guys will have a moment to plug anything that's coming up for you guys or plug your social media, but I do have an announcement to make. I don't know when this is going to be up or if it'll be up before the announcement actually happens, but Playdate, as we know, is happening in November 6th, 2021. It's Knock and Run's first attempt at a short play festival. We're really, really excited for it. We've kind of relaunched it, so all the people who had submitted stuff, we've kicked them out and told them to come back. It will have been 2 years since they had actually submitted their pieces, so a lot of them have worked on them anyway. But the exciting thing is, and they know this, but I'm announcing it to the public now, there is a theme. Like Tropfest has a theme every year. There is a theme to Playdate this year, and the theme is Playdate, Time and Space. So all of the plays or performance pieces have to have something to do with the themes of time or space or both, or something adjacent to that.
My Doctor Who fan fiction can make it in.
You can absolutely submit that, and we will definitely have a read. Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm going to write a long one.
Yeah, I know you will, Carl. Yeah, I still have the old one. I'm still working my way through it. It's a slog.
Which volume are you on?
There's more than one volume.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you the rest.
I was like kind of 3 pages in and kind of smashed my head through a wall.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. So I don't know when the actual announcement will go up on Facebook. It might already be up, but if it's not, keep an eye out. So guys, wrapping up, anything you'd like to plug? Where can people follow you on social media? What would you like to say? Final thoughts. Carl Gregory.
At I am Carl Gregory on everything. If you wanted to follow me, don't know why. Do Your Parents Know You're Straight? February 17th to the 21st at the Civic Playhouse. In March, I will be in Opera Hunter's production of Young Frankenstein, the musical. That's got a wonderful cast there, directed by Zach Smith. It'll be at the Lake Macquarie Performing Arts Centre from the 19th to the 28th of March. So come see that. And that's everything I got.
Great. Final thoughts, Amy Vee.
Theatre-wise, obviously I'm going to steer people towards Chess. That's on at the Civic Theatre at the end of February. Tickets are still available. I think they released a few extra ones because of the restrictions relaxing. But otherwise, I'm really fully committed to music stuff this year. So you can follow me on my socials, Amy Vee Music.
Great. And Beck, final thoughts.
And me. Come and see me perform in my very first play where I don't sing or dance or anything like that in 2.0.
In April.
Very own in April.
Yeah, we're having our first reading tonight, which we're really excited
So
for.
excited.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, cool. All right, well, thank you
James,
guys. Yes.
do you have anything to plug?
Yes. Please follow Knock and Run Theatre on Instagram, Knock and Run Theatre, Facebook, Knock and Run Theatre, www.Knock and Run Theatre, Patreon, Knock and Run Theatre. And you can follow me on Instagram at Jimothy Chaps. Yeah.
I like your posts.
Thanks, man. That's about it. Thanks for joining us, guys, in our first episode. I hope you had fun.
Thank you.
It's been brilliant.
It's been a good one. Well, hopefully we do this again sometime soon. All right, that's it. Oh, I need a sign off. I was thinking at the end of all these things, I could say something like, guys, take a bow and exit stage left. Like, you know how you do it at the end of a...
We're not doing that.
Okay, yeah, cool. Maybe we could just say like a sign off, knock and run you later. No? Okay, well, like maybe we'll workshop that. I don't know. Fucking bye. All right, that'll do it. Thanks, guys. I don't know.